If I asked you what it takes to win in this world, what would you say? Hard work? Endless hustle? Sacrificing your sleep until your eyes burn and your mind collapses? You have been lied to. Society teaches you to burn yourself out chasing money, which is why millions of men work themselves into an early grave and still die broke. You are tired in a way that sleep does not fix. That is the most important sentence you will hear today. And most men will spend their entire lives never understanding what it actually means. Look at your life. You work hard. You set the goals. You put in the grueling hours. And you fight every single day while the rest of the world sleeps. And yet, the massive breakthrough you were promised never seems to arrive. It feels as though you are driving with the emergency brake pulled tight. I am here to tell you that this is not a lack of effort, and you do not have a motivation problem. You have a programming problem. You are playing a game you were never taught how to read. You see, the average man believes that success is loud, aggressive, and exhausting. He thinks that to stay ahead, he must constantly speak, constantly move, and constantly prove his worth to people who do not care about him. But the titans of industry, the quiet strategists, and the 1% know a dangerous truth that the crowd ignores. They know that real power is silent. Strategic thinking is not about doing more. Strategic thinking is about mastering the frequency of your mind so you can read every situation, predict every move, and win quietly without ever exposing your cards. Before we dive deeper, I want to plant a seed in your mind. There is something hidden from the public, something discovered not in a motivational book, but inside a classified laboratory. It is a biological secret funded by elite billionaires and verified by top-tier neuroscience. It finally explains something I know you have felt in your bones, which is the frustrating gap between the wealth you visualize and the reality you wake up to. I will reveal exactly what this is before we finish today. But first, you must understand why the financial deck was stacked against you from birth. So, hold this question. What if your struggle to attract abundance is not a lack of hustle, but a dormant frequency waiting to be switched on? Every man, at some point in his life, will face a silent crossroads. You are standing at that crossroads right now. You can continue to let the noise of the world dictate your emotions, or you can step into the quiet power of a sovereign commander. When your mind is chaotic, your life becomes chaotic. Chaos in your thoughts breeds chaos in your bank account, in your relationships, and in your destiny. But the moment you bring your internal frequency under strict order, the entire world steps aside and bows to your direction. Here is the brutal truth the elite do not want you to know. The reason the universe responds to the 1% and leaves the rest of the world struggling is not because they work harder than you. It is not because they visualize better, and it certainly is not because they have stronger discipline. It is entirely biological. Deep inside your brain is a tiny, walnut-sized region called the hippocampus. In the insanely wealthy, this region is thick, highly developed, and constantly broadcasting a microscopic frequency that literally pulls money, opportunities, and luck toward them like a vacuum. But for the average person, the reality is much darker. Because you were not born into an 8-figure family, you inherited a biological disadvantage. Science calls it a shrunken hippocampus. Instead of broadcasting a wealth frequency, your brain is trapped broadcasting a survival wave. And the modern world, with its endless stacks of bills, exhausting hustle culture, and constant financial anxiety, is engineered to keep it exactly that way. Every time you stress over money, this tiny region shrinks a little more, pushing your natural ability to attract abundance deeper into dormancy. This is why you can read every self-help book and practice the law of attraction for years with zero results. You are trying to manifest wealth while your internal receiver is completely powered down. You end up chasing money endlessly, while the elite simply let it flow to them effortlessly. It is a biological block, passed down from generation to generation, quietly sabotaging your highest potential. Most people will go to their graves believing they just did not work hard enough. You are not most people. You are watching this because you are an architect of destiny, a creator who refuses to drift any longer. And remember the question I asked you to hold a few minutes ago, the one about whether your struggle was just a dormant frequency waiting to be switched on? You are about to see that the answer is not only scientifically proven, but it is closer than you could ever imagine. Stop what you are doing and listen. Truly listen. Because what comes next in the laws of strategic thinking will strip away your old mental models forever. Let us begin with the first principle of the 1%. The universe works by law and not by clock. You must understand the deep contrast between the drifter and the creator. The drifter is a consumer of reality. He reacts to every minor inconvenience and broadcasts his plans to anyone who will listen. But the sovereign commander operates in absolute silence. This brings us to the law of controlled silence. You do not need to announce your empire before it is built. Speaking your goals aloud to the wrong people drains your vital energy. They will project their own dormant fears onto your vision. And while they talk, you must watch them and read their patterns quietly. The silent winner gathers data while the crowd screams for attention. Strategic thinking requires you to become a ghost in the room. You observe the board without touching the pieces. When you remain quiet, people reveal their true intentions. They show you their insecurities, their desires, and their hidden motives. Because you are not speaking, your mind is free to process this incoming information. You become the ultimate mental gatekeeper of your reality. But observation is only the first step of this timeless wisdom. You must also guard your internal state against external chaos. The average man lets his environment dictate his frequency. If he faces a setback, he spirals into despair and plays the victim. If someone insults him, he reacts with blind anger and loses his strategic edge. You must never surrender your power like that. This is the law of emotional detachment. You must look at failure simply as incoming data. It is not a reflection of your worth. It is just feedback telling you to adjust your approach. A wrong decision is better than no decision. When you detach your ego from the outcome, you can maneuver through adversity with lethal precision. Cold calmness is your greatest weapon. Listen to me carefully right now. Stop reacting to every single thing that bothers you. I command you to pull back your emotional investment from trivial battles. Every time you get angry at a stranger, you give away a piece of your empire. You are paying rent to a toxic thought that does not serve your ultimate purpose. Evict it immediately and reclaim your throne. The architect of destiny does not beg for favorable conditions. He forces the conditions to bend to his disciplined will. When a crisis strikes, the crowd panics and scrambles for an exit. The creator breathes deeply and looks for the hidden advantage. While others drown in their own survival wave, you float above the turbulence. You see the chessboard clearly because your emotions are perfectly still. Now we arrive at the third principle. This is the law of strategic magnetism. Most men believe they must chase opportunities until they collapse. They hunt for wealth with the desperate energy of a starving animal. But wealth is never chased. Wealth is drawn to a mind that operates in supreme order. Your subconscious is a tireless contractor that builds exactly what you instruct it to. If you instruct it with anxiety, it builds walls. If you instruct it with calm certainty, it builds bridges. Opportunity does not seek the busiest man in the room. It seeks the mind that has the capacity to handle it. By maintaining your emotional detachment and your controlled silence, you create a massive energetic void. And the universe abhors a void. It rushes in to fill it with abundance. The drifter chases money because he believes it is scarce. The sovereign commander attracts resources because he knows they are infinite. You do not force people to help you. You simply align your frequency with success, and the right allies cross your path. This is not luck or coincidence. It is the undeniable synchronicity of a mind that has mastered its own internal domain. Think of the most powerful individuals in history. They did not achieve greatness by reacting impulsively to every minor threat. They achieved it by holding a singular vision while ignoring the noise of the masses. They understood that their energy was a finite daily resource. You cannot afford to waste your focus on things you cannot control. You must guard your attention like gold. When you walk into a room, you do not need to prove you belong there. Your silence speaks louder than any boastful claim. You act independently of motivation because you are driven by a definite chief aim. The crowd will wonder how you stay so composed under pressure. They will assume you have some unfair advantage, and they will be absolutely right about that. Your advantage is your unbreakable mental framework. But establishing this framework requires more than just willpower alone. As we established earlier, your biology might be actively fighting against your ambition. You can memorize these laws of strategic thinking all day long, but if your brain is still broadcasting a distorted signal, you will struggle to apply them when the pressure truly hits. The ancient wisdom aligns perfectly with modern neuroscience. The silent winners of history all utilized a specific neurological state to lock in their power. They knew how to bypass the conscious noise and access a deeper level of intelligence. How did men with no formal education build the greatest empires the world has ever seen? It was not a random stroke of genius. They activated a biological mechanism that the average man leaves dormant. By the end of the next section, you will understand exactly how they did it. You will see the physical proof of this hidden law. The drifter will ignore this truth. The master will use it to dominate his reality. Which one are you going to be? Let us look to the example of the great builders. How did Thomas Edison and Henry Ford build massive empires out of thin air? They did not possess superhuman strength. They did not have access to modern technology. But they both understood the absolute necessity of the quiet mind. When faced with impossible challenges, they did not panic or complain. Instead, they retreated into complete silence and waited for the answers to arrive. They utilized a specific mental protocol to tap into infinite intelligence. Look at Andrew Carnegie and his immense steel empire. The public saw a ruthless businessman who conquered the world, but in secret, he relied entirely on the hidden laws of the mind. He knew that physical labor alone would never make a man truly wealthy. Carnegie spent his quiet hours directing his subconscious to find massive opportunities. He refused to let the chaotic noise of the world corrupt his internal vision. Edison would sit in his study with a heavy steel ball in his hand. He would drift into the quiet space between wakefulness and sleep. When his mind relaxed, the survival wave faded away completely. And in that perfectly still void, the solutions to his greatest inventions appeared. Ford operated with the exact same cold calmness. When his advisors panicked over financial ruin, he simply closed his door. He refused to let the chaotic energy of the crowd enter his sacred mental space. These men were not lucky, and they were not chosen by fate. They simply refused to broadcast a frequency of fear. They forced their minds into a state of absolute strategic dominance. You might think this sounds like abstract philosophy. You might believe it is just a nice story about old billionaires. But this is where modern science validates the ancient wisdom. There is a powerful biological engine driving this exact phenomenon. Let us examine the secret architecture of your own brain. Deep inside your skull lies a tiny structure known as the hippocampus. In the minds of the 1%, this region is highly developed. It acts as a powerful biological antenna that constantly pulls in resources. But when you are consumed by bills and daily stress, this region physically shrinks. This is the biological block I mentioned earlier. Your brain enters a state of perpetual emergency. When you are stressed, a different part of your brain takes total control. It is called the amygdala, and it is the ancient center of fear. It forces you to focus only on immediate survival. It makes you obsess over unpaid bills, annoying coworkers, and every minor problem in your path. While the amygdala is active, your strategic vision is completely shut down. You become blind to the massive opportunities sitting right in front of you. Your brain begins to broadcast a frantic survival wave that repels wealth. You cannot think strategically when your biology believes you are being hunted. This is why your hardest work often leads to absolutely nothing. Every time you worry about the future, you choke off your own potential. The shrinking hippocampus literally disconnects you from the frequency of abundance, and society profits immensely from keeping you in this exhausted state. If you are constantly reacting, you will never have the energy to build an empire. But the opposite is also entirely true and scientifically proven. When you quiet the mind, the survival wave stops immediately. Your brain shifts into a powerful state known as theta. This is the exact frequency Edison and Ford accessed in their quiet rooms. In this state, the hippocampus begins to heal and grow. Your mental fog clears instantly. You start reading situations with the lethal precision of a predator. This is not a metaphor. It is cold, hard biology. Before we go any further, I have to share a breakthrough that changes everything. This is something the elite billionaires have spent vast fortunes to keep hidden. A rogue neuroscientist recently leaked a shocking discovery to the public. He previously worked on highly classified CIA experiments. His team found a way to rapidly reverse the effects of a shrunken hippocampus. And they did not do it through decades of exhausting meditation or relentless journaling. The elite class understands this biological secret perfectly. They secretly use this mental activation and fund lawyers to keep it hidden from the middle class. Because if the masses wake up their dormant potential, the entire system changes. They want you to stay exhausted, working endlessly for scraps while they accumulate empires. But the whistleblower who leaked this audio refused to let them hide the truth any longer. They discovered something infinitely simpler and far more powerful. It is a precise and perfectly engineered 7-minute sound frequency. When listened to, this specific acoustic wave bypasses your conscious mind entirely. It directly stimulates that tiny region of your brain to pull it out of dormancy. 4 independent neuroscience labs have already verified this exact mechanism. Researchers on the campuses of Harvard and Yale are observing this activation right now. They found that once this frequency is heard, it forces the survival wave to stop. It immediately flips the switch on your natural ability to attract wealth. It is a completely effortless ritual you can do in your own home. Just 7 minutes a day begins the energetic shift instantly. I will tell you exactly what this is called before this message ends, and I will show you how to access this frequency for yourself. But first, you must learn how to protect this new energy. You need a daily ritual to lock in your power, because a restored biological receiver requires a disciplined mind to operate it. You cannot command the universe if you cannot command your own evening routine. And that brings us to the sacred practice of the sovereign commander. Prepare yourself, because what we discuss next will require you to leave your old identity behind completely. Now, let us make this practical. You cannot rewrite your reality simply by listening to my voice. You must establish a daily ritual to protect your mind. The architect of destiny guards his energy with ruthless precision, and this discipline begins in the quiet moments just before sleep. The drifter falls asleep scrolling through endless noise. The creator consciously commands his mind before the day ends. You must practice what we call cosmic housekeeping. Every single night, you will dedicate 15 minutes of absolute silence before you close your eyes. No screens, no news, and no toxic conversations. You will cut off all the external chaos. During this time, you do not worry about your bills or your failures because your only objective is to clear the noise. You simply sit in silence and let the survival wave dissolve completely. You must understand that this night ritual is not an option. It is a mandatory protocol for anyone who wishes to escape the matrix of poverty. Your mind is incredibly vulnerable in the twilight state just before sleep. This is the window where the subconscious is wide open and ready to receive instructions. If you let stressful thoughts enter this vital window, you lose the mental battle entirely before the next morning even has a chance to begin. This is why you must protect those 15 minutes with your life. Treat this tradition as sacred and untouchable. When you close the door, you are shutting out the demands of the entire world. The drifter allows everyone to drain his mental battery until the last second of the day, but the creator builds an impenetrable fortress around his mind, and he uses this silence to recharge his own immense power. In this stillness, you must formulate your definite chief aim. The universe does not reward vague wishes or desperate pleas. It requires a clear and uncompromising target. You will write this aim down on a single piece of paper, and you will read it aloud every single night. Let the vibration of these words penetrate the deepest layers of your internal architecture. Write your vision in the present tense. Do not say you will become wealthy someday in the distant future. You must declare that you are already aligned with massive abundance right now. Speak the words aloud until your body physically believes them. The spoken word carries a vibration that literally alters the physical space around you, and it forces your subconscious to accept this new reality. You are commanding reality to obey your will. When you read it, you must act as if the victory is already yours. Feel the weight of the crown on your head right now. Do not beg the universe for a favor. Command your future into existence with absolute certainty. The subconscious is a tireless contractor, and it builds exactly what you hand it before you drift into sleep. If you hand it a blueprint of a king, you will wake up ready to conquer. But here is where the average man fails completely. He will practice this for 2 nights and quit because he does not see immediate results. He returns to his old habits and complains that the world is unfair. This is the ultimate enemy of greatness. Drifting is a slow poison that kills your potential while you are looking the other way, so you must declare war on your own complacency tonight. What is controlling your mind today? Is it fear, doubt, or resentment? You have spent years playing the victim to your circumstances. You have blamed the economy, your boss, and your background for your lack of wealth. I am here to tell you that the era of excuses is officially over, and you are the only one who can break these invisible chains. You are the sole reason you are stuck. Look at the version of you that complains and hesitates. That weak version of you must die tonight. You cannot carry the drifter into the empire you are building. You must look in the mirror and demand absolute discipline from the man looking back. Will you be remembered as a man who let fear dictate his entire destiny, or will you rise up and become an unstoppable force of nature? Stop waiting for a rescue boat that is never coming. Nobody is coming to save you, and nobody owes you a single thing. This is your battlefield, and you are the sovereign commander. You must take absolute dominion over your thoughts and your actions right now. The world is full of men who wish for wealth while they waste their time, but you will no longer be one of them. You must say to yourself that you are done with small thinking. Say no more to playing the victim of a rigged system. The system is indeed designed to crush you, but your submission to it is entirely voluntary. You have the power to break the programming at any second, but you have chosen comfort over conquest, and you have chosen the illusion of safety over the brutal reality of true freedom. How much longer will you tolerate your own mediocrity? How many more years will you watch lesser men achieve the wealth that rightfully belongs to you? They are not smarter than you, and they do not have a better work ethic. They simply made a definitive choice that you are too afraid to make. They burned the boats and refused to accept anything less than absolute victory, because they knew that retreat was not an option. You are one decision away from momentum and one mental shift away from a new life. But that shift will not happen unless you force it to happen. Hesitation is the death of destiny. The universe demands a sacrifice, and you must sacrifice your old identity to claim your throne. Do not just listen to this message and return to your average life, because that is an absolute insult to your own potential. I command you to make a decision in this exact moment. Will you return to the endless chaos of the average masses, or will you finally step into the quiet, absolute power of the 1%? You have felt the call to greatness burning in your chest for years. It is time to stop suppressing it. It is time to let the fire consume every doubt you have ever held. Stand up and claim your rightful place in this world. The question I asked you to hold at the very beginning of this message: What if your financial struggle is not a lack of hustle, but a dormant frequency? Here is the final answer. A microscopic wealth attraction frequency is naturally active in the 1%. It is driven by a thick, highly developed hippocampus, and classified CIA research confirmed it. 4 independent neuroscience labs verified this hidden mechanism. Researchers on the campuses of Harvard and Yale are observing it right now. Before I tell you what they built, let me tell you about 2 people who used it. Emma was a former nurse from California. She felt her family was under a deep financial curse, and she was absolutely drowning in debt. After just 3 days of listening, she broke the cycle completely. She quit her job and sold her house for way over the asking price. Now, she travels the world on passive income. Michael was a former policeman in Florida. He started using this frequency to scale his struggling business, and within 5 days, he quadrupled his high-paying clients. He found himself networking with elites who put him on television. He said the journey was almost effortlessly crazy. That is exactly because of what the top neuroscientists discovered. They call it the billionaire brainwave. It is not a generic motivation tape, and it is not a manifestation app. It is a highly engineered 7-minute binaural sound wave. It is designed to directly stimulate your hippocampus and pull it out of dormancy. That is the entirety of the work required. You just spend 7 minutes in the morning with headphones on. Close your eyes while you sip your coffee. You do not repeat forced affirmations. You simply let the precise acoustic frequency rewire your brain to receive abundance. The billionaire brainwave is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who has already done the inner work. It is for the visionary who understands that their block is a biological receiver waiting to be switched on. Private neuroacoustic sessions to reverse a shrunken hippocampus cost hundreds of dollars per hour in a clinical setting. Elite billionaires invest massive fortunes to access this exact state. What the researchers leaked delivers the exact same neurological shift in 7 minutes. It is available to you today for a tiny fraction of its true value, which is less than the cost of a few cups of coffee. 4 powerful bonuses are included to support your new reality. You receive the Warren Buffett pyramid to manage your massive wealth. You get 7 lazy millionaire habits to decode the effortless routines of the elite. You also receive a quick cash manifestation audio for immediate lump sums and 500 billionaire success stories to anchor your mind. But here is the deeper truth about waiting to equip yourself. The immense wealth and opportunities you have been praying for are already circling you. The blessing is not missing at all. Your internal receiver is simply broken. The visionary who restores their frequency today finally sees the financial windfalls that were always waiting. Delaying means letting your inheritance remain totally invisible. Do not look for this on YouTube or Spotify. The tracks circulating on those platforms have 0 binaural entrainment encoded. They are dangerous fakes meant to keep you trapped in a survival wave. The only authentic version is available through the official link. It is protected by the billionaire's ironclad promise. You risk absolutely nothing. If you do not experience a physical, undeniable increase in your wealth and luck, every penny is returned. It is an energetic exchange governed by complete trust. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment below. Make the choice to equip your mind tonight. The tool is not the final destination. It simply repairs your biological receiver so the wealth you visualize can finally materialize. Abundance is your birthright, and the universe requires no transaction for you to deserve it. What the researchers built is just one accelerator. Let us go deeper into preparing your mind for the massive opportunities ahead. Your new frequency will open heavy doors, but your billionaire mindset must still walk through them with absolute authority. Do not let the sudden rush of abundance overwhelm your discipline. You must remain the silent gatekeeper of your thoughts, even when the money flows. The universe tests those who receive massive gifts. If your intuition confirms that the frequency tool described earlier is the missing key to your abundance, the path remains open. You can find it in the description below. That is the last time I will mention it. What remains now belongs entirely to the sealing of your new mindset. The time for drifting is officially over. You have heard the law. You now know that every excuse you have ever made was nothing but a shadow holding you back. Tonight, as you close your eyes, you must make a final choice. Will you return to the chaos of the masses, or will you step into the quiet power of the 1%? If you are ready to command your destiny, seal your decision right now. Write your definite purpose in the comments below. Do not just type empty words. Let that sentence be the unbreakable contract you sign with the universe. Leave the most important line in the comments to seal your sacred vow forever. Subscribe to this channel if this tradition is yours. Return to this lesson every single night until your reality bends to your will. You are the architect of destiny. Step forward into the silence. Never again let a negative thought decide your future.